Sister Agnes delivered the baby in complete silence. But when the newborn skin began to glow with strange blue symbols that matched the brand on the SS officer's forearm, every doctor in the operating room collapsed to their knees in horror. The year was 1943, and Europe was drowning in the chaos of World War II. Deep in the countryside of occupied France, a small convent had been converted into an emergency medical clinic to treat wounded soldiers and civilians caught in the crossfire of the devastating conflict. Sister Agnes, a young nun barely 23 years old, had dedicated her life to God and the service of others. With delicate features, pale skin, and eyes that seemed to hold a wisdom far beyond her years, she moved through the corridors of pain and suffering like an angel of mercy. The wounded soldiers called her La Guérisseuse, the healer, whispering that her touch could ease pain even when morphine failed. Dr. Michel Beaumont, a renowned medical historian who spent 30 years studying wartime medical records across Europe, uncovered the case while examining classified documents finally released by the French government. His findings were published in the prestigious medical journal The Lancet, sending shockwaves through the scientific community. What I discovered in those dusty archives defied all medical understanding, Dr. Beaumont explained during his controversial presentation at Oxford University. The case of Sister Agnes challenges everything we know about human physiology, reproduction, and perhaps the very nature of reality itself. According to the meticulous records kept by Dr. Claude Mercier, the head physician at the convent clinic, Sister Agnes first showed signs of pregnancy in April of 1943. The revelation sent shockwaves through the small religious community. Mother Superior Genevieve immediately called for an investigation, suspecting that one of the wounded soldiers had committed an unspeakable act against the young nun. But Sister Agnes vehemently denied any physical contact with a man, insisting that she had remained faithful to her sacred vows of chastity. "I have never known a man, Mother Superior. I swear on the Holy Bible that my body remains pure and untouched," she reportedly told the convent's leader through tears of confusion and distress. "I cannot explain what is happening to me. I only know that God must have a purpose for this miracle." Mother Superior Genevieve, a woman known for her strict adherence to religious doctrine, initially believed that Sister Agnes was either lying to cover a grave sin or perhaps suffering from a psychological disorder causing her to deny reality. She ordered the young nun confined to her quarters, permitting her to leave only to attend to her duties in the medical ward. The other nuns were forbidden from discussing the matter, though whispers spread through the stone corridors like wildfire. Dr. Mercier, a man of science rather than faith, suspected a medical explanation, perhaps a tumor mistaken for pregnancy, or a rare condition causing false symptoms. He ordered a comprehensive examination, expecting to find evidence of either sexual activity or an alternative medical explanation. What he discovered instead left him completely baffled and deeply disturbed. The medical report, written in Dr. Mercier's precise handwriting, stated, "Subject shows all physical signs of pregnancy, approximately 12 weeks along. Fetal heartbeat detected, strong and regular at 142 beats per minute. However, hymen remains intact, with no signs of previous penetration or trauma. Physically impossible condition observed. Additionally, ultrasound reveals fetal development occurring at approximately twice the normal rate." Dr. Mercier's confusion soon turned to profound unease. How could a woman with an intact hymen be pregnant? How could a fetus develop at twice the normal rate? Medical science offered no explanation. He consulted with 2 other physicians working at the clinic, both of whom confirmed his findings. One of them, Dr. Philippe Rousseau, was so disturbed by the examination that he refused to continue working with Sister Agnes, claiming that what was happening was against nature and possibly the work of dark forces. "I have practiced medicine for 27 years, Dr. Rousseau wrote in his personal journal, recently discovered in the archives of his grandson. I have witnessed birth, death, and everything in between. But what is growing inside Sister Agnes is something I cannot explain through any medical knowledge. When I placed my stethoscope on her abdomen, I heard not only the fetal heartbeat, but something else, a strange rhythmic pulsing that seemed to respond to my presence. And when I looked into her eyes during the examination, I saw something looking back at me that was not Agnes. As weeks passed, Sister Agnes's condition became impossible to hide. Her belly swelled with the growing life inside her, yet she maintained her innocence with unwavering conviction. Some of the nuns began to whisper about a miracle, comparing her to the Virgin Mary. Others, particularly the medical staff, sought rational explanations, perhaps a rare medical condition or an unprecedented biological anomaly. A few of the more superstitious members of the convent began to make the sign of the cross whenever Sister Agnes entered a room, fearing that something unholy was taking place. What made the situation even more perplexing was that Sister Agnes herself appeared to be changing. Her skin developed an unusual luminosity, particularly in darkness. Her hair, once a dull brown, now shimmered with auburn highlights that seemed to shift and change depending on the light.
And most strikingly, her eyes, previously an unremarkable hazel, now glowed with an intense blue that one witness described as the color of the deepest ocean, containing depths that no human has ever explored. But what happened next defied all rational thought and sent tremors of fear through the convent that would reverberate for decades to come. In August of 1943, exactly 5 months after the first signs of pregnancy appeared, Sister Agnes went into labor. Dr. Mercier and 3 nurses attended the birth, which proceeded with surprising ease and speed despite the accelerated development of the fetus. The baby, a perfectly healthy boy with no visible abnormalities, was delivered in less than 2 hours, an extraordinarily short time for a first birth. The child had piercing blue eyes identical to those his mother had recently developed, and, strangely, a small birthmark on his left shoulder that resembled an ancient symbol none of the medical staff could identify.
Sister Marguerite, one of the nurses present at the birth, later described feeling an inexplicable chill in the room as the baby took his first breath. The temperature dropped suddenly, so severely that I could see my breath clouding in the air, she wrote in her personal diary, recovered decades later from a hidden compartment in her former cell at the convent. The candles flickered as if disturbed by a wind, though all windows and doors were closed. And when the child cried for the first time, it sounded like nothing I had ever heard before, not quite human. It started as a normal newborn's wail, but then shifted into something that reminded me of the sound glass makes when it's about to shatter. Even more disturbing was what happened after the birth. Dr. Mercier's examination of Sister Agnes revealed that her body showed no signs of having gone through childbirth. Her hymen remained intact. There was minimal bleeding. And within hours, her uterus had returned to its normal size, a process that typically takes weeks. When Dr. Mercier pressed on her abdomen during the post-delivery examination, Sister Agnes showed no signs of pain or discomfort. It was as if her body had not given birth at all. It is as if the child simply materialized within her and then emerged without causing any of the physical changes typically associated with childbirth. Dr. Mercier wrote in his journal, his typically steady handwriting showing signs of agitation. I have no scientific explanation for what I witnessed today. If I had not been present throughout the entire delivery, I would not believe that this woman had given birth at all. The child, whom Sister Agnes named Gabriel, displayed unusual characteristics from the moment of his birth. He never cried after that initial strange wail. His eyes tracked movement with a focus and awareness impossible in newborns. And most unsettling, He seemed to grow at an accelerated rate, achieving in days what would normally take weeks of development. Just when the convent was beginning to adjust to the presence of this unusual child, the mystery deepened in the most shocking way possible. Just 3 weeks after giving birth, Sister Agnes began showing signs of pregnancy again. The second pregnancy progressed even more rapidly than the first, reaching full term in just 4 months. The second child, another boy with the same piercing blue eyes and mysterious birthmark, was born in December of 1943. This time, Dr. Mercier documented additional anomalies. During the delivery, Sister Agnes's skin became temporarily translucent, revealing a network of glowing blue vessels beneath that were not following the normal pattern of human vasculature. The room temperature dropped so dramatically that ice crystals formed on the windows despite the roaring fire in the grate. And most alarmingly, for approximately 17 seconds immediately following the birth, every timepiece in the convent stopped simultaneously. Sister Agnes named the second child Michael, and like his brother, he displayed accelerated growth and uncanny awareness. The 2 infants, despite their age difference, appeared almost identical and developed a form of communication that witnesses described as telepathic. They would stare at each other for hours, never making a sound, yet somehow conveying information that caused them both to react in unison. By this point, fear had spread throughout the convent. Mother Superior Genevieve, despite her initial skepticism, became convinced that something supernatural was occurring. Whether divine or infernal, she could not say. She contacted the Vatican, sending an urgent message requesting guidance from the Holy See. The response was swift. A special envoy would be dispatched to investigate the matter, and in the meantime, both Sister Agnes and her children were to be kept in isolation, observed at all times, and not permitted any contact with the outside world. However, before the Vatican representative could arrive, the situation took an even more terrifying turn, one that would forever alter the course of Sister Agnes's life and, potentially, the future of humanity itself. German forces raided the convent in January of 1944. According to multiple witness accounts, they weren't typical Wehrmacht troops, but SS officers led by a tall, pale man with cold eyes who spoke perfect French without the slightest accent. They seemed to know exactly what they were looking for, proceeding directly to Sister Agnes's quarters without hesitation.
They seized her 2 children and would have taken the nun herself had she not been hidden in a secret chamber beneath the chapel floor by the quick-thinking Mother Superior. The SS officer in charge, identified in Dr. Mercier's records only as Sturmbannführer K, interrogated the medical staff for hours, focusing particularly on the details of the pregnancies and births. He was not interested in who the father might be, Dr. Mercier wrote. He was particularly interested in the birthmarks on the children, Dr. Mercier wrote. When I described the symbol to him, his expression changed from clinical interest to something akin to religious fervor. He showed me an ancient book with identical markings, claiming they represented the seeds of the coming race, and that the children were not of this world, but meant to transform it. After the Germans left with the children, Sister Agnes emerged from hiding, collapsing in hysterical grief. That night, as recorded by multiple witnesses, strange phenomena began to occur throughout the convent. Candles lit themselves. Objects moved without being touched. Glass shattered without cause. The stone walls of the ancient building seemed to vibrate with an energy that left everyone feeling nauseated and disoriented. And Sister Agnes spoke in languages she couldn't possibly know: ancient Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, and something older that none of the scholars at the convent could identify, but which one visiting linguist later suggested contained phonetic elements of pre-Indo-European root languages, thought to have been extinct for over 10,000 years.
But the most shocking development was yet to come. Despite the trauma and the separation from her children, Sister Agnes became pregnant for a third time in February of 1944. This pregnancy was different from the previous two in ways that defied not only medical understanding, but the very laws of nature itself. Her belly grew enormously, far larger than would be expected even for twins or triplets. Her skin stretched so thin that it became translucent, with strange patterns visible beneath, patterns that seemed to shift and move on their own, forming complex geometrical shapes and symbols that Dr. Mercier meticulously documented in drawings that would later be studied by mathematicians who concluded they depicted impossible geometries that could not exist in three-dimensional space. The medical staff observed another disturbing anomaly. Sister Agnes required no food or water during this pregnancy. She simply didn't eat or drink for months, yet remained healthy and showed no signs of dehydration or malnutrition. When Dr. Mercier tested her blood, he found it contained unknown elements that changed color when exposed to light, shifting from crimson to a deep, iridescent blue that glowed faintly in darkness. Whatever is growing inside her is not entirely human, Dr. Mercier confided to his journal, the pages stained with what appeared to be tears. God forgive me for saying this, but I fear we are witnessing something that should not be possible in our world. Last night, I placed my hand on Sister Agnes's abdomen and felt not the normal movements of a fetus, but what seemed like dozens of appendages pressing outward from within, as if something with many limbs were trying to break free. And when I listened with my stethoscope, I heard multiple heartbeats, not in the normal rhythm of twins or triplets, but in a complex syncopation that sounded almost like music. Sister Marguerite's diary entries from this period reveal that Sister Agnes began to exhibit strange abilities that could only be described as supernatural. She could predict incoming air raids minutes before they occurred, saving countless lives by ensuring patients were moved to the shelter before bombs fell. She knew intimate details about people she had never met, describing their homes, families, and past experiences with perfect accuracy. And most disturbingly, she could heal with a touch, closing wounds, curing infections, even bringing a clinically dead soldier back to life after his heart had stopped for over 7 minutes. She placed her hand on Corporal Benoit's chest, Sister Marguerite wrote, and her eyes changed, becoming entirely blue, without whites or pupils. A soft light emanated from her palm, and the room filled with the scent of ozone, like the air after lightning strikes. Benoit gasped, his back arching off the bed, and when he collapsed again, he was breathing normally. The wound in his chest, which had been a gaping hole from German shrapnel, was completely healed, leaving only a faint scar in the shape of that same strange symbol that marks her children. As the third pregnancy progressed, Sister Agnes's behavior became increasingly erratic and disturbing. She spent hours staring at the stars through a window in her room, whispering in that unknown language that made everyone who heard it experience intense nausea and nosebleeds. She drew complex mathematical equations and astronomical charts despite having no education in either mathematics or astronomy. Equations that, when examined decades later by physicists, were determined to describe concepts related to quantum entanglement and wormhole theory decades before these ideas entered scientific discourse. And she began to speak of the others who were coming through the thin places, entities she described as ancient beyond human comprehension who had seeded countless worlds and were now returning to harvest what they had planted. They have always been here, she told Mother Superior Genevieve during one of her more lucid moments, in the deep places, in the cold dark between stars, watching, waiting, using us, shaping us. They are our creators and our destroyers. And now they are coming back through the gates. through me. When asked who had fathered her children, Sister Agnes smiled with an expression that made Mother Superior Genevieve later write, "I saw something looking through her eyes that was vast and cold and ancient, something that regarded humanity as we might regard insects, with clinical curiosity and casual indifference to our suffering." "They have no father," Sister Agnes replied. "They have only the lineage of the stars." In June of 1944, as Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy, bringing hope of liberation to occupied France, Sister Agnes went into labor for the third time. Dr. Mercier had been killed in an air raid 2 weeks earlier, his body found clutching his medical bag, his face frozen in an expression of such profound terror that those who discovered him refused to describe it in detail. The delivery was instead attended by Dr. Rousseau, who had reluctantly returned to the convent after fleeing months earlier, driven back by what he described as dreams so compelling they bordered on possession. What happened during that birth caused Dr. Rousseau to abandon medicine altogether and enter a monastery, where he took a vow of silence that he maintained until his death in 1987. His only record of the event was a single page of frantic, almost illegible writing found among his possessions after his death, the paper so deeply scored by his pen that it tore in places, the ink blotched with what forensic analysis later confirmed was his own blood. "The child was born in complete silence," he wrote. "No cry, no breath. Its skin was translucent, showing not blood vessels but channels of light that pulsed in patterns too regular, too precise to be natural. And then it opened its eyes, eyes that contained the depth of centuries, of millennia. They were not the eyes of a newborn, but of something ancient and aware. When it looked at me, I saw visions of countless worlds dying, of civilizations rising and falling across galaxies I cannot name. I saw humanity's end and its transformation into something both more and less than human. And I understood that what I was witnessing was not a birth, but an arrival. May God have mercy on us all, for they will not. According to the few witnesses who survived to give testimony decades later, the third child began to transform shortly after birth. Its skin hardened into something resembling mother of pearl, iridescent and reflective. The strange birthmark that had appeared on the previous children now covered its entire body in intricate patterns that glowed with an inner blue-white light. Its limbs elongated, fingers extending into elegant, impossibly long digits. And most terrifyingly, its face, initially human, began to shift and change, features rearranging themselves into a configuration that Sister Bernadette, one of the attending nuns, could only describe as beautiful beyond human comprehension, yet terrible in that beauty, like looking at the face of an angel as depicted in the oldest texts, not a gentle guardian, but a terrifying messenger of divine will that cares nothing for human life. Sister Marguerite, who assisted with the delivery, suffered a massive stroke immediately afterward and remained paralyzed and unable to speak for the rest of her life. However, she left behind dozens of drawings created by guiding her niece's hand over paper during the 1960s. The drawings depict a humanoid figure surrounded by complex symbols, many of which match ancient runes found in archaeological sites across northern Europe, specifically sites associated with pre-Christian Germanic religious practices that were later incorporated into the occult symbolism adopted by certain factions within the Nazi SS. What happened next is documented in multiple sources, though the accounts vary in specific details. German forces returned to the convent. this time with Sturmbannführer K, accompanied by several men in civilian clothes described as scientists or scholars. They took possession of the third child, but this time they also took Sister Agnes, who went with them willingly, her eyes vacant, speaking in that strange language that caused several witnesses to bleed from their ears as she passed. Before leaving, Sturmbannführer K gathered the remaining staff and residents of the convent. According to Sister Bernadette, one of the few survivors, he spoke to them with a chilling calmness that seemed at odds with the fanatical gleam in his eyes. "What you have witnessed is merely the beginning," he reportedly said. "Sister Agnes is not what you think she is. She was never a true nun, never truly human at all. She is a vessel, chosen for a purpose you cannot comprehend. The children she has brought into this world will usher in a new age, a transformation of humanity. Your God is but one of many powers in this universe, and not the most ancient or the strongest. The Thule Society has known of these entities for centuries, waiting for their return." Hitler himself has authorized this project, the creation of a bridge between worlds that will secure our victory not just in this war, but in the eternal conflict between species. Then, in a moment that haunted Sister Bernadette until her death in 2002, the SS officer rolled up his sleeve to reveal a birthmark identical to the one on the children, a complex symbol that she later identified as a combination of the Germanic Hagal rune and something older, possibly predating written history. But surrounding this natural mark was something even more disturbing, a deliberate brand burned into his flesh, depicting the same symbol but elaborated with additional patterns that formed what appeared to be a gate or doorway. "We are their children too," Sturmbannführer K said, his voice taking on a rhythmic quality that made several of the nuns collapse, blood trickling from their noses. "Some of us have carried their blood for generations, diluted but present. The Aryan race is not merely superior, it is literally not fully human. We are the descendants of those who came from beyond, and now we will help them return in full." After the Germans departed with Sister Agnes and the third child, the convent was bombed the very next day. Most assumed it was part of the ongoing Allied air campaign, but the precision of the attack, destroying only the medical wing and the chapel while leaving surrounding structures intact, suggested a targeted strike. Most of those who had witnessed the birth of the third child were killed, along with anyone else who might have known details about Sister Agnes's pregnancies and the strange phenomena surrounding them. Of the 27 people who had been present during Sister Agnes's third delivery, only 5 survived the war. 3 of those 5 committed suicide within a decade, each leaving behind similar notes speaking of dreams in which they come to me, showing me what they are building beneath the ice, and references to the gate that will open when the 7th generation reaches maturity. The remaining 2 survivors lived long lives, but suffered from the same recurring nightmare. A vision of Sister Agnes transformed, her body no longer human, but a vessel for something described as light given material form, giving birth to more children, hundreds of them, each bearing that same mysterious symbol, growing to adulthood in mere weeks, and then taking human form to infiltrate society, preparing for what both survivors referred to as the Great Replacement. Dr. Beaumont's investigation hit a wall when trying to trace what happened to Sister Agnes and the children after they were taken by the Germans. Most SS records were destroyed in the final days of the war, and those that survived made no mention of Sturmbannführer K or a special project involving a nun and her unusual offspring. The mysterious officer himself vanished, his name appearing on no official SS roster. his face matching no known photograph in the extensive archives of Nazi leadership. However, in 1973, a Soviet expedition to Antarctica reported finding an abandoned German facility built beneath the ice, apparently operational long after the war had ended. The facility contained sophisticated equipment far beyond the technology available during World War II, including what appeared to be early cryogenic chambers. Before all contact with the expedition was lost, they transmitted photographs of strange machinery and walls covered in symbols matching those described in the convent records. A combination of ancient runes and complex mathematical formulas that one analyst described as instructions for building a bridge between dimensions. No member of the Soviet expedition was ever seen again. The USSR classified all information related to the discovery, and subsequent satellite imagery showed that the entire area had been mysteriously buried under an avalanche shortly after the last transmission from the team. The final piece of the puzzle emerged in 2008 when construction workers in Berlin uncovered a sealed vault beneath the ruins of a building that had once housed SS offices. Inside was a single file containing photographs of Sister Agnes and 3 children, along with medical records documenting rapid genetic divergence and accelerated evolution. The file was labeled Project Morgenstern, Project Morningstar, and contained references to a secret SS division known as the Ahnenerbe Sternenkinder, or Ancestral Heritage Star Children. Most disturbingly, the last page of the file contained a handwritten note dated December 21, 1999. The 7th generation reaches maturity today. Integration can now begin. The first phase of replacement will commence in major population centers. They look exactly like us now, but they are not us. The transformation of humanity will proceed as planned. The German government immediately classified all materials related to the discovery, and the construction workers who found the vault died under mysterious circumstances within a year: car accidents, sudden illnesses, apparent suicides. The official explanation was that the vault contained nothing but delusional writings of occult-obsessed SS officers with no basis in reality, and that the deaths were unfortunate coincidences. Yet strange reports continued to surface in the decades following the war. In 1957, a hospital in Argentina documented treating a woman matching Sister Agnes's description who had given birth to quintuplets in complete silence, the attending physician noting that all 5 infants bore an identical birthmark. The woman and her children disappeared from the hospital before they could be photographed, and the medical staff involved in the delivery all died within a month of unexplained cerebral hemorrhages. In 1979, a classified CIA report, later leaked through unofficial channels, detailed the discovery of a commune in northern Finland populated entirely by blue-eyed individuals who all shared an identical birthmark. The commune was reported to be engaging in breeding experiments and complex astronomical observations. When agents attempted to infiltrate the group, they lost contact with their handlers. A subsequent reconnaissance mission found the area completely abandoned, with no trace of the dozens of people who had been living there just days before. In 2020, a nurse at a hospital in Munich reported treating an elderly woman with unusual medical readings: blood that changed color, cellular structures that defied classification, and brain activity that caused the EEG machine to short-circuit. The woman, who gave her name as Agnes Schmidt, claimed to be 100 years old, though she appeared much younger. She spoke of her children, who were preparing the way, and told the nurse that the time of transformation is upon us. "We are everywhere now," the woman reportedly said. "In your governments, your militaries, your schools. We look just like you, but we are not you. We are what comes after you. The replacement is nearly complete. Soon the gate will open fully, and those who made us will return." The nurse reported the strange encounter to hospital administration, but by the time they checked, the patient had vanished, her records deleted from the hospital system. The nurse herself disappeared 3 days later, though her apartment showed no signs of struggle or forced entry. The only unusual element was a strange symbol burned into her bedroom wall, a symbol matching the birthmark described in the convent records. Dr. Beaumont's research came to an abrupt end in 2022 when his home burned to the ground with him inside. Official reports cited an electrical fire, though colleagues noted that he had recently mentioned being followed and had spoken of a breakthrough regarding the current whereabouts of Sister Agnes's descendants. In his final email to a colleague at Oxford, he wrote, "I've found them. They're organized. They're in positions of power, and they all bear the mark, not just the birthmark anymore, but the brand. The same brand that Sturmbannführer K showed to the nuns. They're preparing for something tied to a specific astronomical alignment that will occur next month. I've arranged to meet with one of them. I believe they want to recruit me because of my research." That email was sent 3 hours before his house erupted in flames, so intense that they melted the aluminum siding on neighboring homes over 30 feet away. Perhaps most chilling of all is the recent analysis of global birth records conducted by Dr. Eliza Chen of Stanford University. Her study, published just months before her disappearance in early 2023, identified a statistically impossible increase in the number of children born with a specific birthmark, a mark matching the symbol described in the convent records from 1943. According to Dr. Chen's research, if the current trend continues, by 2030, 1 in every 1,000 newborns will carry this mark. Her final communication, an email sent to a colleague minutes before she vanished, contained just 4 words: "They are among us." Today, reports continue to emerge from around the world, accounts of children with extraordinary abilities, of people with strange birthmarks who can heal with a touch or know things they shouldn't be able to know, of individuals in positions of power making decisions that seem contrary to human interests but align with some other, unfathomable agenda. And in each case, somewhere on their body, hidden beneath clothing or hair, is that same ancient symbol, the mark that was branded on the skin of SS officers assigned to the most secret and terrible of all Nazi occult programs. Most recently, in April of 2025, a nursing home in Switzerland reported treating a woman claiming to be Sister Agnes herself. According to staff, the woman appeared no older than 40, despite claiming to be over 100 years old. She spoke of having given birth to thousands of children over the decades, each pregnancy shorter than the last, each child more perfect, more evolved. She described a plan spanning generations, the creation of a hybrid species that would prepare Earth for the return of those who seeded us. When asked about the strange symbol that marked her children, she reportedly smiled and said, "It is the key that unlocks the gate. It is the sign of the covenant between worlds. It has been with humanity since the beginning, carried in the blood of those chosen to bridge the gap between what you are and what you will become." The woman disappeared from the facility that night, leaving behind a journal written in multiple languages, some of which linguists have been unable to identify. The pages contained mathematical formulas and astronomical calculations pointing to a specific date, December 21, 2026, exactly 82 years after Sister Agnes delivered her third child in that remote French convent. Is Sister Agnes still alive, continuing to bring more of these beings into our world? Were the Nazis attempting to create a new species, a transformation of humanity as Sturmbannführer K suggested? And most importantly, are these children, now grown and possibly numbering in the thousands, living among us, working towards some unfathomable purpose tied to that approaching date? The Vatican maintains a special office dedicated to investigating these cases, though they refuse to comment on its findings. Government agencies around the world have classified files referencing Project Morgenstern, unavailable even through Freedom of Information requests.
And people who dig too deeply into the matter tend to disappear or die under mysterious circumstances, their research confiscated or destroyed. Something began in that convent in 1943, something that defied the laws of biology and perhaps reality itself. And if the pattern holds true, we may all soon learn the true purpose behind these impossible pregnancies and the children who carried that ancient symbol on their skin, the same symbol that was branded onto the flesh of selected SS officers who believed they were creating a bridge between worlds. Have you noticed an unusual number of people with special abilities in your community? Have you ever encountered someone with a strange birthmark who seemed to know more than they should? Share your experiences in the comments below. And remember to like and subscribe to the channel for more unexplained historical mysteries that continue to haunt our present day. The truth about Sister Agnes and her children may be closer than you think, perhaps even in your own bloodline, waiting to reveal itself when the time is right.